Hello everybody, my name is Aldo Megori. I'm a Nigerian lawyer and entrepreneur and founder of Chocolate City Group, which is home to Chocolate City Music, one of the biggest record labels across Africa. But this wasn't enough to feed my spirit. And after a while, it became clear that we needed to connect business with impact in communities. So I'm currently traveling around Africa, finding like-minded individuals like myself who are creating businesses that also impact communities as well. This is Profit with Purpose. This is Shivers. Win the right way. On tonight's show, we'll be chatting with John Armah. He's an award-winning entrepreneur, business growth strategist, and investor with a passion for startups and encouraging development and growth in Africa. John is also the CEO of Orion Group. To add to his already impressive string of accolades, John was named as part of Forbes 30 under 30 most promising young entrepreneurs in Africa and 20 under 40 most influential business leaders in Ghana by award-winning Business World magazine. He's even been voted 12th most influential young Ghanaian. So this guy is no slouch. Orion Group is a holding company with 3 subsidiaries, namely GCEEI, Trade Invest, and Orion Foundation, which is committed to redefining wealth creation in Africa. This was, of course, music to my ears, so I caught up with John to discuss his work over a glass of Shivers.
I've heard a lot of people say a lot of things about success, and for me, success is relative. It's more about personal growth than about the physical, tangible things that we acquire. And so for me, success was how to be persistent, how to be consistent, and how to define myself within a context of fighting the fears that are within me. And so my story is really that I come from an underprivileged family. You'd watch the kids, you normally watch the kids who have it all. They'll play with the toys. The fathers will take them out on vacations and they'll go out. And you're asking yourself, why can't I have this? Single-handedly raised the funds for my school. I went to Ghana International School, one of the foremost schools in Ghana, from a relatively unknown school, to be their library assistant. Wow. And I get that there's a huge stack of books. And I'm asking myself, okay, so this is my chance. Because at that point I felt knowledge was power. I go in there and I can tell you that I read most of the books in the library. I thought maybe it's time to move on. And I saw the schools that were going to Yale, Harvard, Oxford. I'm like, this guy from Kanishi where kids don't wear shoes. I go to Wangara Hotel, a hotel in Ghana, very popular one. I asked them at age 17, I want to be a human resource manager. And they look at me at 17 and they laugh. And they're like, who is this guy? They said, okay, fine, we'll make you an assistant. And after that, I went to school.
Where?
Zenith University College, first year, first semester.
Okay.
In time, I traveled to Malaysia. I won best position paper, the most influential delegate in Ghana at the UN conference. Wow. And I went to Malaysia and I saw the array of youth from the continent, from around the world, some lawyers, and I'm asking myself, in my father's house, you don't dream like this because you don't even have food to eat. So how do you dream like that? Exactly. So I came back home empowered and I was like, look, I want to go for a law degree. At this point, I'm asking myself, what is it that I can do? What is my gift? What is my passion? What's my skill?
What's your purpose?
What's my purpose? So I can talk, let me do radio. And I go to them and tell them that I want to be on radio and they're like, see this guy. You're not even 18 and you want to be on radio.
This is before you're 18? This
was before I was 18. Gosh. And they're like, and you want to be on it. This is Vibe FM. Vibe FM used to be big those times. Almost all the stars you're seeing today from Vibe FM. What show do you want to do? I want to do a leadership show in Africa. I did the show for a year. It spanned up to 6 years doing different things. Now, at this point, I'm sitting in my dad's room. I said, this is my office. And then I'm like, okay, I've been doing this for a while, but it's not sustainable. Just discussing the issues don't count. So I sent an email to the World Bank and I said, look, I want to do a program with you. And I wrote like a 1-page script. Yeah. In about 30 minutes, I get a call for a man called Kofi Kafuchikata. Where are you? You just send me an email, come to my office. Wow.
Tell us a little bit more about Orion Group. What is it about? What do you guys do?
So Orion started 6 years ago. It's a business advisory center providing business information and development services to startups. Orion today has a staff strength of 9 and is focused really on transforming business. We want to be the name behind a global business giant from Africa. And we'll do that by providing advisory services, providing the capital, but also owning the part of the future, which is in agribusiness. Largely Ghana, about 92% of our business are in the informal sector. And so the potential is huge, but we need to formalize this industry by providing them the right advisory services, the right support. But there are non-existent policies. If they exist, they fail to connect the realities of these people.
Is this a function of the failure of governance? Or is it the private sector itself that's not or is it that there's no synergy between both? Because when you're talking about policy and then talking about also the informality of businesses, what is the nexus and what is the solution?
I think the first one is that we've been dreaming too small as business owners for far too long in Africa. And so we're stuck in the informality of the sectors than actually in formalizing what we do into growing. What we're seeing also is a combination of both of the things you're saying.
Yeah.
One is there's a lack of capacity by business owners. They fail to understand that I need a good business model, I need a good business plan, I need to articulate my finances, I need to set up my financial system very well. And they need advice on how to monitor cash flow. And what we've seen in Ghana is really that, amidst all the things I've said, there's a lack of structure. What's my governance like? Do I have a board? Do I have a team?
Exactly.
We're seeing James Bond kind of businesses, one-man businesses in Africa.
Sure.
But if we were to change the narrative of Africa, it won't take one man to change that narrative. It will take a team doing different things because they form a whole. What matters is that government needs to put in place the right structures, which is where the small business administration centers. What are they able to do? Are they able to fund? What are their clear rules? As we speak right now, if you're a startup in Ghana, there's nowhere to go for support, except you come to us. Africa has 11 million entrants into this labor market each year. And you're beginning to see more young people now begin to look within themselves and ask themselves, what is it within me that I can unleash? What is that disruptive idea that I have that could potentially change what is happening today or tomorrow? And so it's growing, but we need support. We need to build the capacity of many of these young entrepreneurs and tell them that, look, passion is just a feeling. Some passion can be businesses, but business will only grow when there's personal growth, when there's business growth in terms of building the structures. When you have a perfect model, a business model, and when you clearly identify what your motive is, if it's profit, if it's not for profit, if it's a hybrid, then you set out a clear plan in a business plan and get a team to drive it. And as you go, things happen.
What is your view about profit with purpose? You know, which is business cannot just be about the cash. It's also about the impact in communities. And how is that reflected in your business model?
There's a huge gap in Africa in terms of the underserved, the marginalized, who we need to reach out to. And Africa has come out of wars, has come out of famine, has come out of desperation, as we call it. We're seeing a certain growth that we seek, but we cannot grow without everybody. We need to bring everybody on the table. So it's the same way with businesses. You can't run a business that's solely focused on profit without impacting. We're seeing a rise in impact funds, impact-focused companies, because really there's a need to give back. There's a need to give back. You can't exploit everything from the earth and not give back. We need to get to a point where companies, bigger companies, are focused on how do I attract a small business, support them to better my value chain. In doing so, I'm doing two things. I'm increasing my returns, I'm increasing my market because they have a solution that betters my model, but also that their solution enables them to reach more people if it's employment they are creating. And we need to be able to quantify some of these things. We're not doing so. And that's a challenge for me.
It's always nice to get a well-rounded view of any individual, and nothing defines a person more than where they were brought up. We made our way to John's parents' house, which is around the corner from the vibrant Kanishi market. John took me for a walk in the very streets he grew up. I was also fortunate enough to catch up with John's father, Emmanuel Armah, at his home. Mr. Armah, thank you very much for welcoming us to your beautiful house. Bringing up a child like John, what was he like as a child? What was he like?
He was a very quiet child. A few issues, came up, so I couldn't make it. But then I had to push him to make it because I had to plant that vision within him and get him going.
On one part, you were the business mind, and your wife, his mother, is the philanthropist. She's a teacher, I understand, in one of the free education schools. And to what extent do you think this impacted in what John has been able to achieve so far?
It's impacted on him greatly because within the area that we lived, we realized that there's a lot of streetism, there's a lot of, bad company and all that. And I couldn't sit back for that to influence him. So I had to cover him, I had to make sure that he gets a good education, I had to push him to the limits. I registered my first business when I was 18 years old.
Oh, so this is in the blood?
That's it.
It is in the blood.
right after school, I just zoomed into it. But then, like he's doing, getting some capital and some knowledge, to keep business going. People need to get information. What I've come to realize is there's a lot of information out there,
Yes.
which people do not access, either through ignorance or negligence or something. And like his group and what they are doing, I think they are creating the awareness, and helping people start up business, because people have ideas. I used to take him to some lectures. I used to give lectures and business and other things. Yes.
Wow.
And so that as I took him along, I think he grabbed it quickly and then he packed out. For every business person or every entrepreneur to try it, you must have passion, and you must have the zeal to satisfy a need. He set up a kind of community fund thing to, assist people in those who have dropped out of school, yes, and those who have, they need something little to start up something. With his compassion, he cannot see somebody in need and let the person go. He'll make sure that he moves to that need. And I think those are the qualities that are driving him.
What was it like growing up under such a father? What was it like? Was it tough? Was he hard? What kind of father was he?
My dad was never happy, never content. When I say happy, he wasn't happy where he was. He always went back to his ideas, and I wanted to do this, I wanted to do that, and it didn't happen because this happened. So you get to hear these ideas shaping you up. Oh, so this is possible. So he did this. He was running an NGO trying to help people to back home then. And so you see him trying things and doing things. Yeah. And that's what has shaped me. In his leadership, he was 10, my dad. I mean, look,
Really?
study. Either you study or do something, do some, show that you are my son. Because he's very, very intelligent, and you can tell.
No, clearly.
So, I learned business from my dad, and I get a compassion from my mom. So it's very clear. But my mom taught me how to love. It's my greatest flaw. It is my greatest flaw to date. Loving, being emotional. Sometimes people prey on that and exploit you based on that because you're too compassionate, And so that part of my mom is something that drives my work.
To what extent would you say this ecosystem keeps you logged on, keeps you focused, and keeps your journey to the next level on point? How does that do that?
When I'm stressed at work, I just come here and I see my dad and something happens. There's a spark that says, keep going.
Nice.
When I think I'm getting it all and I'm more comfortable,
yes,
I come back here at my mom's place and it reminds me of we are not there yet at all. So that's what I get, and a sense of belonging.
What was the worst thing that happened to you growing up there?
I was looked down on.
Within the community?
Yeah, even internally at home.
Why?
I don't know, it's just a stereotype that I think most families face, and many people who are watching us today will share that. People tell you, look, what are you doing? Who are you? Who are you? And they equate the sense of being daring to being having pride.
I see. I feel you.
So you are here and you're not comfortable where you are, and they think that this guy has some ego they've never seen before. And,
I totally feel you.
But really, it's just that we can't be comfortable with where we are. The future is so big for all of us that we need to grab it. If we don't grab it, we grab some.
Your father telling us about how people look up to you now, your peers, and some people who are even older than you in the community as a sort of icon, as a success story. Now, it's also interesting that these are the same people who previously may have been looking down on you. Now, how does that make you feel?
It's a challenge. I want people to look at me and see themselves and see that it's possible.
So now that we know who the man is, it's time to find out about his business and how it enriches the lives of others.
Over the past 6 years, we've been committed to building a business that will become the name behind a global business giant from Africa and from Ghana. And so it's impacted the way we work. And so we're a firm focused primarily on investments, providing patient capital to startups in Ghana, but also that we have an advisory wing that is committed to providing business development services and advisory services to startups, to high-end clients and SMEs in Ghana. But also that we feel that agribusiness is the future, and so we want to own a part of that, and so we do that through our other subsidiary called Trade Invest. So essentially, the company I run is called the Orion Group, and it has 3 subsidiaries. One is the Orion Capital, focused on investments. We have GCE, I focus on training, advisory and development services. And then we have Trade Invest, which is primarily on agribusiness. It's transition. We've grown from a point where it was just a one-man business to now where it's a team of more than 9 with other casual laborers across the fields that we work in. But what we've been noted for was we took over from an ecosystem where there was no policy to help transform startups. There was no policy to help aggregate startups and provide them the needed support. And so what we did was to pioneer the first policy for startups in Ghana. Over time, we've also trained over 10,000 youth in Ghana across the country, working with a lot of donor partners. And we've been involved also in reviewing most of the youth employment initiatives in Ghana, along with the World Bank. And so we reviewed the Ghana Youth Employment Program when it started. It's now called YES, and we've reviewed that over time. We were the first also to support a local startup to pioneer an operating system software right here from Ghana. It was called the OSS Web software. So it's just like you're using a Microsoft or you're using a Mac. It's the same thing with that as well. That company has today gone on to pioneer one of the leading technologies in Africa called BISA app. BISA allows you to interact with doctors seemingly from where you are and get answers to your health questions right on the go. Now, you and I are not in Thai, right? May I ask you why you're not in a Thai?
Because it is hot.
Okay.
And this is Africa, so
Okay.
Unless you have to.
Building on that African point, I met a young man who was fully focused on diplomacy, but was not making a cent out of it. And he could speak well, he could do a lot of things. And I asked him, what do you really love to do? He says, look, I love doing ties. This tie I'm having, I made it myself. I said, okay, next time we meet, how about you bring a couple to me? So we're driving around the Accra Mall area, and he had it. And I stopped by the roadside, in busy traffic, and I asked him, can you get out and sell? He's like, what? Like, I'm a diplomat. I said, no, get out and try and sell to some of the people in the cars. So, okay, fine, since it's coming from John. And I got this guy out of the car. He started interacting with people, and people were interested in the tie. And I think 2 people bought some on the road or so.
Wow.
Since then, I'll take you to his shop. It's not big, but you will see what he's trying to influence a lifestyle change where we don't do Western ties, but we use an African fabric to make ties.
Fantastic.
Our work has seen us transform policy, be it in terms of leadership, be it in terms of employment, be it in terms of actually creating jobs for the young people. And I think you've seen that in what I've said so far.
How do you employ people in the first place? I mean, what is the process? Do you have to be young? Do you have to be tall? I mean, what's the criteria for employment?
I have partners in my business, and my partners I give great thanks to. They're committed, they have a shared vision with me. And so you see that transcending in the people that we interact and the people that we bring on board as well. We look out for passion, and I'm so proud of my team. We're looking out for, is he passionate? What's his knowledge about the market? Can he be trained? Is he somebody who would go all out to work with us? Is he willing to get new ideas? But what's the drive like?
Your business has helped to fund several companies. And being a businessman in Africa myself, I understand that one of the biggest challenges that you find is that startups can't access funding.
Yeah.
And even when they can access funding, they can't access it affordably. So you end up taking a loan that ends up being equity, or sometimes you have to dispose of an asset.
Yeah.
So it's a serious decision. How do you make that decision as to which kind of companies to fund?
If you look at typical the equity industry in Africa, it's growing. The venture capital industry is growing. But in Ghana, we've not appreciated it fully because we consider startups as high risk. And so who comes in to bridge that gap between the seed capital, the growth capital? And that's a gap we want to fill. In our process, what we look at is we have a team that will identify the startups primarily on one end and see if they're deals that we want to consider. But primarily we have a board that is a very strong board headed by the former Voter Authority head in Ghana. He's one of the directors of, I think, Stanbic Bank. They consider, along with the fund manager, in terms of which startup to drive. So we are just, call us the workers, infestating the fund and trying to get money into it, and etc. Yeah. And they would consider these applications per the number of sectors that we have. So narrowly so instead of announcing a call, we're on the lookout as to whether we can broker or whether we can do the fund. And in the past, like I said, we're doing microloans to startups. And so essentially, that concept of funding was, it's microloans to them. As we grow, you would see that in the next year, that we even move from this level into high-end startups that would cause, beyond creating jobs, beyond impacting, they would disrupt.
Sometimes people mix up the business with corporate social responsibility.
Yeah.
Some companies, what they've done is that they've made their business corporate social impact as their responsibility. How has that affected the DNA of your company now in terms of giving back?
Every money that we made in our business from the first 3 years went back into people. Almost all our events were free. It's grown to become part of our philosophy now, where really it's about, can this company create impact? Can it disrupt? But will it give us the returns we want to continue this impact? That's our future.
What word would you have out there for somebody who is trying to start off, who's knocking on the doors and they're not being opened? What in one sentence, what kind of advice would you give them?
Sometimes we think we're meant to start a business, but we're not meant to start a business. I see fresh graduates coming out with no clear business model, no clear problem they're seeking to solve. And yet out of that enthusiasm want to start a business. It's not something that doesn't work that way. Fundamentally, every entrepreneur or every idea is based on a need. If there's a need, there's a solution.
One of the issues that we talk about, even in corporate governance, is about doing the right thing, winning the right way. Now, what is that to you? What do those words mean to you, winning the right way?
We've got to start doing the right thing. We've been doing the wrong things for a long time, and so we have failed leaders, we have corrupt leaders. But if we are the future as young people and we want to change that mindset, we want to transform the economies that we're in, it starts with doing the right thing. It starts with self-examining ourselves, discovering the values that we need to share and we need to imbibe within us. And that becomes a kind of a force that drives people to you, because the way you think determines who comes to you.
But what are the most essential things that we need to start doing business the right way?
Interesting. You need passion, first of all. Passion to be committed to stay on the track and not give up at any point in time. Passion to know that, well, this business idea may not work, but it's actually a conduit towards something that will work. So you keep trying and keep doing that. And the second point you need is really, and I think it's most fundamental, is you need a good idea. If you don't have a good idea, I'm sorry. There's no such thing as a good idea, contradictory as may seem, but there's a right idea. The right idea is one that's ready for the market, that has an existing market, or it's revolutionary in nature, and so will disrupt in a certain form as well. You can only know if it's the right idea if you test it. And so when you don't start, you limit your own potential.
What is your style of leadership? How have you been able to lead several teams, grow the dreams of many other people, and still remain yourself? What is your style?
Interesting. There's a saying that says, show someone what he can become, and he'll be loyal to you, if he realizes the potential that you've shown him.
What is the future for Orios? I mean, where do you see yourself in 5 years, in 10 years? What will be your story?
I want to inspire the youth of Ghana. I want them to feel that age is not a limit to make an impact. There's more within us than we think. The future is what we want, and we are the future. And we will do so by owning a part of it. That's why Orios today is set up. And we've launched a $1 million fund to fund startups in Ghana. It's ambitious, but it's daring. It's doable because we put our mind to it. We put the structures in place for it, and we're seeing a lot of invitations, a lot of feedback from the investor community. Look, the point is that, look, we fail as Africans to explore, because our mindset from the beginning has been that, look, don't take risks.
Stay safe.
Stay safe. And so the middle class in Africa don't want to invest in their own because they feel, look, let me keep it all to myself and spend it, and it's better that way. Little do they know, like you said, the concept of giving back is actually investing in one of the things that would be a risk for you today, but would be a reward for you tomorrow.
In your own words, what is a gentleman? What is a quintessential gentleman? What does that mean to you?
I mean, you're a gentleman, so maybe I can describe you.
Oh, really?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you're dressed well, but is dressing what makes you a gentleman? No, I think it's a mindset, and you use that principle, and you define a gentleman as one with good thoughts, looking out for his neighbor.
Are you a pioneer in this field, or are there many other people who've come this same path in that craft?
My friends have called me names like the father of startups in Ghana. Because when we started, there was no policy. We put together a policy for government in 3 days. So we put in a national budget in 3 days. We did that for that. Since then, we've seen a number of hubs, accelerators we've helped launch. We continue to do so, not in our single minds, but collaboration, collective collaboration, and we see that it will continue to grow as such. It's come with a number of awards here and there, but do these things define what we do? No. No, it's the impact thereof. It's the lives that we transform, the business that we set up. It's the people who see us today and are like, look, if this guy can do it, I can do it. That's the better aim. That's the better success than any tangible thing, whether it's a car, whether it's a house,
True.
whether it's an office. No.
True.
For me, it's the lives we touch.
True.
And that's the future for us, touching lives.
What would be John Armah's legacy?
It would be that age is never a limit to make an impact, and that we broke the stereotypes around what a young man can do in Ghana and on the continent of Africa.
So, John, I am about to propose a toast. This is traditional for Shivers. And I propose a toast to your legacy, and that legacy will be young people making impact across Africa.
Cheers.
Cheers.